What's up, guys? I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to come on here and give a few kind of really updates of what I've been looking into, right? So one going over in this video, we're just going to go over a couple articles that I found online, mostly with an uptake in uranium stocks and also in a Russian oligarch's investment into a Canadian company. But kind of as a side note as well, I know in a previous video, I think Mondays, it's I brought up kind of looking more into the safety and concerns and stuff for nuclear reactors. I actually found a peer-reviewed article. Let me double check that it is peer-reviewed. But all these things you can just look up on Google Scholar and find it. Um, let's see, received, accepted. It looks like it. Yeah, it peer-reviewed article on the basically a history of nuclear reactor safety. So that'll come up at some point in the next week or so as I kind of go through and um, read it. And I'll probably pull up the article itself and just kind of go through it. So, because also, if I just do the whole thing, it'll be a long video. And I'll give you guys like a link and you can look it up yourself. I'll give you the reference and everything else so you can look at it. Um, so we'll get right into it. Let me go screen share. No, no window. Let's do the whole thing. This one. Boom. And then we'll just go right over to here. Okay. So, why uranium stocks staged a sharp recovery on Thursday? And this is an opinion piece. They state later, and I'll go down to it. Whoever wrote the article. Um, yeah, I'm sorry, dude, but I'm not gonna try to pronounce that. I believe this is the author's name. Um, Parashar might be the last name, but sorry if I mispronounce it. But basically, uranium stocks in the TSX, which I'm assuming is the Toronto Stock Exchange, because I know they have a lot of, they're very commodity based, at least from what I've heard. How I like I said, they inched up sharply on Thursday after consistently trading on an, I'm assuming, negative note for several days. This is more than 10% gains each, and then Cameco rose by 8.8% for the day. Um, I don't know if that's inched, but maybe it is relative to how they normally act. I don't really know. But by assuming by the title, how they a sharp recovery on Thursday, I don't think inched is I don't think inched up, even if it's sharply, is a good um, word for more than a 10% increase. But anyways, um, so why does this matter? So yesterday's sharp gains in these uranium stocks came after the U.S. equity research and investment company H.C. Wainwright increased its target price on energy fuel stock. This target price upgrade came amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, which has fueled speculations about its impact on uranium supply. That part of the world has a very large they're very involved in uranium, obviously, with the Cold War and the whole nuclear stuff. That side of the, and if you've heard of Chernobyl over in Ukraine and all of that history, they pretty big players in that space, to say the least. So it's important to note that Russia is one of the key suppliers of uranium and nuclear fuel to the Western countries, including the United States and some Europeans countries. I've seen some arguments. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. However, I know Russia and Ukraine, that area of the world, is I believe is the largest like producer of enriched uranium. So whenever you're using uranium for fuel and stuff, like for nuclear reactors and such, it has to be enriched. Just pure uranium in its normal isotopes doesn't really do anything, and that's why there's a whole enrichment process. And from my understanding, basically, even the producers here in the United States or in other countries as well, they basically ship the raw uranium to that area of the world, either Russia or Ukraine, where they would enrich it, and then they'd send it back. right? Similar to what the US does with oil, because I know, like, there's a bunch of different grades of oil, and so, like, if you get more like rock or more of a rather poor grade, I don't remember the technical name for it, for oil, that they'd send it off to no. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure on which direction it goes, but anyways, one country um basically gets like rather poor quality crude oil, and then they'd send it to a refiner in a different country where they'd refine it and do everything else, and then they would sell it back to them, the different more refined crude. And I'll look more into that as well, because that's something I've apparently need to brush up on. And that's kind of the whole point of these videos, by actually having me talk about it. One, it points out the fact of where my knowledge is rather lacking and where I need to do more research. Hence, as an example, the whole peer-reviewed article on uranium reactor safety, wow, nuclear reactor safety history, um, which we'll go into later. But back to this article, uranium prices have spiked by nearly 37% since the war started on February 24th. So it's almost been a month. By what is it? Wednesday? Yeah, it's basically been a month. Um, wow, that was quick. Time flies, apparently. Um, consistently, and basically the whole argument is like it consistently rising demand for nuclear energy and the growing environmental concerns and limited supply could be some of the reasons for this rally in uranium prices. Um, I mean, like, with the whole like green energy and renewable kind of push, you have nuclear as arguably a viable option. I've seen arguments both for and against whether or not nuclear energy is going to be kind of the leading factor in the whole renewables push. Because I mean, you still need the energy in general. Again, energy is the economy. Like, if you don't have energy, you can't really do anything. Um, so can't really get rid of it. and so and that's something that's part of the reason with all this study and everything else, and also bringing the articles, is to do I'm researching more myself on whether or not, nuclear energy is a viable option, and trying to read all the different arguments and really understand it from different points of view so that you can make an educated decision on it. That's kind of really the whole point of the research and everything else. But trying not to get too much on a sidetrack, I'll kind of scroll down and see how here. Um, highlight this part for a second. This is an opinion piece. Um, so now back to this one, where Russia's richest man invests in Canadian uranium. So the oligarch Russian Alexei Mordashov owns a minority stake in the fission uranium project in uh, Saskatchewan. I don't know, through his investment firm Materia Capital, right? Okay, so the uranium or the EU froze this man's assets over his ties with Putin, but in Canada, it is not on their list of nearly 500 sanctioned Russian equities. So with the sanctions and everything else, we know that they've been freezing Russian capital, whether it be from oligarchs or government entities or banks or whatever. Um, so it's one of the examples, but as with everything, there's a lot of nuance. So, like, as an example, this specific equity, according to this, is not in part of one of those sanctioned. So, you're still able to invest in it, and whether or not, um, I wouldn't necessarily say the morality of whether or not he should be able to, but it's also like who gets to decide that. Um, I don't know. It's an interesting thought and worthy of discussion. Um, my main reason for bringing up this article too was down here, and I forget what this guy's um okay Mr. Majumbar, He's a researcher at the MacDonald Lawyer Institute and advisor of the Office of Ministry. Oh my God! And the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Prime Minister or some Canadian thing. Um, Anyways, basically saying he stresses that beyond economic sanctions, the Canadian government must ensure that the risks that foreign investment poses to the economy and national security are removed. This involves tracking, categorizing, and evaluating all Russian and Chinese investments in the country. Um, Basically, having the government um, having a say in what foreigners can invest in, right? Um, which I think was really interesting. And it really reminds me of a book I read by James Rickards. And if you don't know who that is or haven't read the book, I highly recommend you do because he is a fire hose of information. He actually did something similar for the United States. I forget the name of um, the entity that he was a part of. I need to reread that book because it's really worth studying. One of the things I've noticed is whether or not you agree with James Rickards or not. Um, he is an opinion that I think you should really study if you want to understand something, whether it be confirming your own or antagonizing your own opinion, because it is just so much information and it's well worth the read. But I believe it's his book Aftermath. I've also read his book The New Great Depression, and I entirely intend on um, reading the rest of his books because I think they're that good. I've also read The New Case for Gold from him, which was really helpful. Um, Anyways, but he did something very similar to this for the United States, specifically, if I remember correctly, for the Russians again, but from the United States' point of view and their investment in United States uranium. Um, Amongst other things. But I think that was the exact example given in the book. Again, I need to reread that and do more notes and study and everything else because that was definitely worth it. But yeah, that's a little bit of an update on the whole uranium and nuclear energy sort of things. Again, I just get these articles based. You can set up Google alerts to get this stuff sent to your email. And so this was the one from this past Saturday, I believe. No, I got it pulled up. I can actually tell you the 19th. So yeah, this past Saturday. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. So I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you on the next